It is what? Oh yeah, okay. Well, it's Wednesday night at 8 p.m. I'm already confused. Standard time, which I love. 5 p.m. on the West Coast, and we are live, which is why I can't cut that crazy start out of this thing. I'm your guide, Sean McZoo, if I know who I am, and this is the Reptile Show reporter. As usual, Bill Strand, the headmaster of the Chameleon Academy, is my co-host, and we've already got some people in the chat. But we're going to be talking breeding projects. But first, we have to start with the video. All right, we're back. That video seems short. Hey, John from iPerdalis is here, so we'll bring him on. Hey, welcome, John. You made it.
Yeah.
Or should I call you Jonathan? Because Saturday I learned that I'm the same age as Bill, so I should be calling you Jonathan.
No, you're not. You're younger than I am, and apparently there's a very clean cutoff.
All right, there's a clean cutoff. Okay,
right between you.
I know we're right between us. Okay, all right. There's so much dust around here. All right, let's talk about the people in the chat already. Liza Ann was here before everybody else, so we'll show her picture. Of course, we have to see Bill a second time, but anyways, there we are. And then we go to more of the chat. Two Turtle Tom, we've got his picture with his daughter, so why don't we do that? His daughter Paige and Two Turtle Tom. Where is that pic? There it is at the Medina show. Thanks for joining. I won't keep doing this forever, but this is kind of cool. What did I just do? Oh, I got rid of the chat instead of the picture. So there we go. And we'll get rid of the picture. And then we'll go back to the chat. My arm's not working very well today. Bill's having difficulty again. I already said that. So Mikey Ben is here. Let's see if we can find Mikey Ben. Let's see. There he is. And we won't show him with his cool friends because that's, makes him too cool for us.
That is awesome.
All right. Let's see. Who else is here? Two Turtle Tom, and then, Chris is here. James Cross. So there we are. I did the wrong thing there. So let's see where James is.
You don't have a picture of James, right?
I do.
Oh, okay. There he is.
Yes.
Well, I prepared for this. Can I do the special James Cross welcome to the show start?
I guess that's okay. John, do you have enough time for us to be chit-chatting about this, or do you got to go?
That's not up to me. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
We'll find out.
All right. So Steve is here. I think this is our buddy Steve from the Chameleon Enthusiasts. And because he's on Facebook, Mikey Ben, James Cross. Oh, Chris. That's who else I was talking about. So we can show him. And that'll be it for tonight. We're not going to show anybody else. There we go. There's Chris from Zeb's Green Reptiles. And I'm going to get rid of this. All right. Back to the chat. Get rid of that. All right. So John from iPerdalis is here. We're going to be talking breeding projects. I've been listening to your latest podcast, John. It's awesome. Yeah. The most recent one, you stole one of my people. I know you probably did it before I did mine, but you had Dr. Chris Anderson on, and you were talking.
I know, and I was like, I didn't realize he was going to be on both shows. We could have coordinated.
Yeah, and Michael Nash. I just talked with him last week in his podcast. Wow, I took forever to upload. It took me 3 days to get it to upload. I tried to upload it Sunday night and have a surprise for Monday morning. Didn't happen. Monday evening, I came home. Wasn't there. Tried it yesterday. Didn't happen. And now it's Wednesday, and I had to put it on Facebook to start with because I usually put it on Spotify first, and I had to put it on Facebook. And I got it on Facebook or not Facebook, YouTube. I got it on YouTube already, but then I couldn't get it to load. I don't know what's going on with Spotify, but anyways, so. But I was listening to all of you guys talking and Bill's recent small batch breeding and everything like that. So I wanted to get everyone together and chat about it. What we thought about it, what the ideas were. But first, I forgot. Bill, any announcements?
Other than I am I am done with my 6-hour live session, and now I am just decompressing. And so
Right.
my
Yeah, I'm
announcement-
exhausted from just watching it.
It's
So
all hoodies from
we're
here
hanging
on
out in
out,
the
right?
wings.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all in the rearview mirror. It
So
cost
I
me
am
my
working
neck.
on the latest issue of the Chameleon Academy Journal that I want to get it out on Saturday. It may not happen. I may have to delay it another week. I got to get my act together. Can't be playing with the schedule like this, but working on it.
All right. Like I said, podcast number 12 is out with me and Michael Nash. I guess it's Dr. Michael Nash as well. He's a PhD.
It is.
His MD yet.
Yeah.
He's got his PhD, so I got to give him credit on that. And he'll have an MD PhD, which is higher than all the rest of us. Even if we're an MD or a PhD, he's above us all. So and he dedicated a lot more years. So listen in on that one and see what you think. Social media pillars are up, everything, and there's going to be the last one for the week is just the pet. I'm not going to talk about it now. John, any announcements?
No, I'm excited to see what people think. We just got the first real episode with an interview, and I love to hear what people's reaction is. So,
well, Chris doesn't like it at all. Oh, wait a minute! It says he's loving it. All right. Let's see. Two Turtle Tom dislikes your podcast immensely. No, I'm just kidding him. I don't know if these will actually come up when the video is recorded. These all say love, and I'm just kidding and saying it wasn't good. But all right, let's see what else we got. Anything else? Mikey Ben says congratulations, great information. CNC Tortoise is here, and I don't have a picture for him or her or whoever they may be, but welcome. Love the 6-hour Bill.
Yeah,
And
that was fun.
Already saw the interview with Michael Nash. It was 8 p.m. yesterday. I barely made it on YouTube, and then I just made it at 3 p.m. this afternoon on Spotify. So thank you. And what's this? All right. So
by the way, CNC is Mike Chan.
Mike Chan. Okay. Hello,
from British
Mike.
Columbia.
Well, wow, from another country. We've gone
That's
international, right. Bill. I know that you're already international. You've got like Finland and all kinds of other stuff.
Yeah,
but,
I got Finland.
Germany, I'm not nearly as popular as you are. So, anyways, okay. So we'll stop with that. What is this small batch breeding, Bill? I listened to the whole podcast, but what's the idea?
The idea is that you are prioritizing your enjoyment over numbers, and there's a number of ways that seeps out. And honestly, I'm trying to figure out how best to describe this. It started off with small batch breeding was, well, you're going to stop when you can at a certain level of husbandry. So, our husbandry, if we have one, we just throw everything at it. The chameleon has a kitchen sink in there as well. When we start breeding and getting into a lot of numbers, then
wait a minute, Bill. Chameleons don't drink from the sink. So let's not, we know that. That's one of those things that we're talking about, drinking from a bucket or whatever.
The metaphorical kitchen sink.
I know, but it's just, we just got to be careful here, Bill.
Okay, I guess I'm on sensitive ground there. Okay, so they have the caviar. Is that good? Mm-hmm. But
caviar. I'm not sure that you eat fish eggs either, Bill. But okay.
but we all know anybody who has had a clutch of chameleons knows what happens. All of a sudden, it's I need 30 cages, or I need all these different cages, and I got to be careful when I say the quality of care, because I don't want this topic to become a breeders are not giving good quality care if they have a lot of cages and the cages aren't all fancy. I don't even want to go there, because I mean, as the care is fine, the chameleons are healthy. I think where I want to go, but small batch breeding is not just something I came up with. There's other places in the reptile community that have been thinking about this, and in fact, I didn't even know it. I had the concept. I didn't even know what to call it until I heard someone on Animals at Home, Dylan Perrin's podcast, call it small batch breeding. And before that, it was just a thought, how do we do this? But now I have a name for it. But they're talking more about how to build you stop when you're able to have these big, elaborate, or nicely done up cages. I'm coming at it more from the perspective of maintaining joy in this. And my concern is allowing people the ability to get the experience of breeding chameleons without the immediate overwhelm that comes with having a huge clutch, and then the temptation to mate all of those females in that first clutch, to where you just totally overwhelm and you are just physically strung out. And so, it's really a work in progress. I don't have it all laid down, even just my approach to it. So you may see an evolution in my explanations over the next months.
So maybe, Bill, we talk about it this way. I was just car shopping with my daughter, and there's a base model, and then there's the medium model, and then there's the ultra specific model, or you could go to different car companies. But the base model is going to get you from point A to point B, get you there safely. There's not but you might not have all the bells and whistles and some people don't even want all the bells and whistles. My wife would prefer to be able to crank the windows down by hand, but on the other hand, she also wants to have some of the things that are in the advanced model. So, you can't really choose that now. That's the way life used to be. You could just pick and choose what you wanted. But what about a model? Or you could be thinking of it like, you're either using a Chevy or what have you, or a Cadillac or a Lamborghini. Some people build a cage that's so much for them and not for the chameleon. Maybe that's what we're talking about as well.
Yeah.
And
how about this, Bill? Like, I enjoy having 200 babies at once, Bill. So if it's about my enjoyment, then I could go big, right?
If you enjoy having 200 babies at once, then you have discovered your joy. Mission accomplished, Jonathan.
I was just being a jerk, though.
Yes, and that's why we have you around, because you are.
Because I'm not enough of a jerk for him, right?
yeah, but you know what I mean. It's like it's easy to game that. Definition,
the whole idea that I want to do is not present small batch breeding as this is where we all have to go. This is, I played a little bit with the title of my podcast, saying small batch breeding will save us all. And okay, I was being, clickbaity there, but really, I want to present it as an option for people to say, hey, that is a possibility. I am talking to the vast majority of people who say, hey, I love chameleons. I want to experience breeding, and to give them a middle step between not breeding and then all of a sudden having 30 babies to deal with. I do think
so. Two Turtle Tom is talking to us, but he's talking, tortoises don't lay 30 eggs or 300 and have 300 babies, and they lay like once a year. So I don't know how much he's got his first chameleon. Now he's he's an expert. But no, I'm just kidding.
No.
I'm
Yeah,
good
but
buddies with him, but
I know when we talked about this initially, right? I was thinking we scale it to the like single clutch size of the species, right? Where but the problem that you get into pretty quickly with the most common species is their clutch sizes are huge. So it's like the smallest scale that you have to work with is already pretty big. And so that's why when we say small batch breeding, it's like, well, then what do you do with the others that are there, or how do you keep it smaller than that base unit essentially?
Yeah, and
And
there are things we will talk
that's
about.
the big challenge. Like that's the big challenge that we have to solve for, right? Is like, is that the smallest scale that we can work on, or is there a way to make it smaller?
Yeah,
is there a way
I
that
mean,
you could diapause some of these chameleons? I don't know what
Yep.
other animals you could.
Yep.
I mean, the
That's one thing.
Madagascar things need a diet. Most of them need a
Yeah.
diapause.
No,
Panthers, we didn't figure that out yet, but you can diapause panthers as well. So
you can, and I've told some of my customers who are getting started breeding that to do exactly that with their first clutch, like break it into 3 groups of 10, diapause them at different durations, and spread it out. That then results in different size feeders pretty quickly. And so you start to deal with essentially like what it's like to have successive clutches on a smaller scale, which is a realistic thing. Like if you're going to be breeding chameleons, you need to understand how to have the right size feeders available and things like that. But that is one option, is like try to take it in phases through diapause. And so, but I don't know. I mean, the way that I've always approached this is that this, scale to 1 clutch, and start there. I don't know if that's necessarily large scale. If you know what I mean, like
well,
that I guess that's where for me I'd say large scale is when you've got more than one pair, right?
yeah, the
So
thing,
I guess I need to give Thomas props. I guess they can lay 10 to 15 eggs, and he's got 8 laying females. So
There you go.
he could get into trouble as well. All right. Well said. I guess we probably need to bring him on at some point here. Tom, if you want to be brought on, let me know. I'll send you a link.
I think the amount of chameleons that somebody can have and still enjoy it, to where the enjoyment has the work has not overtaken the enjoyment, is going to be different for everybody.
Yeah,
and
that's fair.
And so it's really going to be a different story for everybody. And as long as we put together an example of how to scale it to your comfort, I think we can do the community a service.
And I like what you're saying though, which is that there's another option, right? We don't, because it's either been like people who are producing as many as they possibly can, like just breeding all the females, getting as many babies as they possibly can. Then we scaled it down by saying, no, we want to do individual cages. That was scaling it down from what it was before, where it was like, you just need one giant cage for each clutch and group raise, and that was the way that it was before. We scaled it down to say, maybe we can individually raise these guys. And now we're saying, hey, can we scale it down even further than that? Is kind of the way that I think about it. Is that fair? Is like, hey, there's another option to.
Yeah, it's just another option. And at this point, it's not replacing anything. But yeah,
It's something new.
It's a new approach for, like on my lives, we're talking with James and Eliza. They're very active, saying that they'd love to get involved with breeding, but the whole idea of like jumping in and doing 30 at a time is just not what they want.
Yeah.
And I think if we put together, well, I guess I'm repeating myself, an example of a middle step that we can serve the community and show how it can be done. And And yeah, I have ulterior motives that maybe in my lifetime I'll be able to establish another species of chameleon. And if I can get people to do this small batch breeding, maybe I can get enough people around who will work on a certain species with me. And so yeah,
So,
that's
Bill,
where
can the
I'm
shamrock
going.
chameleon be diapause?
Yeah.
That's probably true? It's from Madagascar, right? You can diapause
What?
those eggs, or do they need to be diapause? Shamrock
Which
chameleon.
species?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they need diapause.
Okay. So yeah, that's that's a possibility. So,
Cool.
Well, if there's enough coordination within the F1 breeders, then we can limit how many babies we all produce. Not to price fix or price manipulate the price, but to make sure that we don't just saturate the market so much that all of a sudden we're all stuck and the whole thing implodes. I mean, that's the danger. That's what happens. And so we need to be mindful if we are establishing another species, which is a many steps ahead in this discussion, but we need to be mindful as to only produce what we can find homes for, or else we have a lot of chameleons that are hanging out in our backyard.
well, not our backyard because I'm
not
I'm
your
here in
backyard.
We're up
Ohio.
north, yeah.
They'd be frozen.
I have experience. I have a number of odds and ends of everything because I am horrible at selling chameleons. I just don't do it well. I just don't do it.
Yeah, it's a
Is
lot
it
of work.
that you're horrible at selling them, or you just don't want to get rid of them and you don't want to admit it to yourself?
Oh, it's so much work to sell things, but and really that's another thing that we talk about on my lives. We've been talking about how it's a lot of work. Once you breed, it's a lot of work to get rid of them. It's not easy to just say, okay, they're gone, unless you go to the pet store and sell them for $30. And pet stores won't always take them. So, people, it'd be really good to have another option for people to grow in the chameleon arts.
All right, let's throw this dagger out. For chameleons, I think you might strongly consider only incubating a certain percentage of each clutch. I've mentioned that in the past, but all cringe pretty hard.
Oh yeah, we cringe only because we haven't figured out how to talk about it publicly. We all know that is probably the easiest and best approach.
Yeah,
is to
it definitely
incubate.
is. Yeah. And then if we could sex those eggs.
Oh,
there
well,
you go.
I'm relying on you, Jonathan, to figure that out.
Are you coming up with something that you're going to be able to sex the eggs? We're going to do a needle aspiration of the eggs,
second
genetics, and so
podcast series.
No, I'm not going to get into that. I don't want to do spectroscopy or anything. I have no interest in that. But I think it's funny that's. I mean, it would take so much time to figure that out, and I mean, you would need to have a decent amount of volume. It'd be hard to do it in a small batch.
Well, James Cross is coming from Facebook, so I didn't recognize. But he's saying that's the elephant in the room. But others are saying, she was just about, and
yep,
that's what zoos do. So Tom knows a little bit about zoos. So,
and you see, James, me being hesitant to start breaking into that is not just because we don't want to talk about omelets. It's also, I think, one reason why we have a hard time doing that is because that feeling of we don't want to waste money. This is $300, this little egg. And so if we fall into that and are controlled by that feeling that this is a lot of money that I'm getting rid of right now, then it's harder to go to make these decisions. And that's why I'm easing into it by talking about let's change our perspective.
Yeah, but it's a misnomer, really. It's not it's not. It's just extra work. It's more cost. It's more infrastructure. It's all that. It's not more money. That's the thing that people like. I think, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
it's a misnomer. It's not the money
yes,
you think it is. That
yeah,
absolutely, and that's part of the education. But you know when somebody has all of these little eggs, you know what they're thinking. It's that thought that comes up. And are they going to listen to the podcast guy who obviously wants all the money for himself? Probably not.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah. No,
Wow.
I mean, it's if you. It doesn't really. You don't need to ask us. You could just if you've observed the industry for a little bit. I know new people haven't, but anybody who's observed the industry has seen people come in and out, and very few people stick with it. And the reason is because the business is not. It's not a good business. Like it's not a good way to make money. And people think it is because they're focused on only the revenue. They don't know how much it costs. They don't know how
Yeah,
hard it is to sell them. They don't know all these details, and therefore they're seeing dollar signs that aren't there. You know, and that is why I'd say it is a misnomer. And though, and like I think even with a species that you're trying to establish, the market isn't there. So the the demand is not there. You've got to get this group of people to get good content out there to get more people who want it. And I think like Frank Payne is one of those guys who does a really good job right when he starts out. He gets some really good footage of the new species. He tries to explain why it's such a cool animal to have in captivity, like what makes it a good fit for you. And then that's like a year before he's got anything. Like he's just building the excitement, right? There's a video after video of all these really cool things. And then eventually they're available, right?
yeah,
And then you can get involved. And so I feel like it's building that demand um, with good content, with all the reasons why I should switch over from Pardalis to O'Shaughnessy. You know that
yeah.
if you can convince somebody who's got our Pardalis infrastructure to get on board, like that would be pretty huge.
Well, yeah, I've got 14 months, 14, 16 months to work on you, Jonathan.
All right. So
Limited
Two
city,
Fertile
yes.
Tom is adding to the craziness. He hired
like it.
Frank to pimp his tortoises. So all right. So we need to
By
build
the
on
way,
it now.
yes,
Okay.
Eliza, that is exactly what's going on. That is exactly
Yeah.
why I'm talking about the Shamrock Chameleon on my
mean-
live. I'm getting my core group of people that will be the F1 keepers and breeders. And there's going to be more and more documentation and resources available that are going to be launched in the next year. And so I've got, like I said, 14 to 16 months, depending upon if I get any eggs, to build
I mean,
all this up.
I'm sold. I seen them and I'm like, geez, those are amazing.
They are.
So,
They are.
so cool.
Yes,
Oh,
I've seen them in person, and they are amazing. So
yeah, they're really cool. Just curious, how many F1 Shamrocks will you have? So Two Turtle Tom, right now, I am trying for as many as possible because I am not confident that I will get any. So I am not doing any control of. I'm mating as many as I can and hoping that I'll get the eggs because I've never had shamrocks before. I've never hatched them and I've never incubated them. So right now,
Things can go wrong.
a lot can go wrong.
Yep.
Okay. If I would say I could possibly have a little bit over 100. I've
it's
got
a family show, John. It's okay if she sticks her head in there.
It's all good.
I've got about 4 females that I believe are gravid, and most of them have stopped eating. So what the heck? So maybe it's 0. But I'll get them eating again, and then hopefully they'll lay their eggs. And so, so maybe 120 will be. I'll get 120 eggs. That's what I'm guessing.
Very cool.
Okay.
That's awesome.
And for this first round, I mean, if I end up with 120 babies, I mean, that'll overwhelm me. But at the very least, I will have had a year of building up the community of interest. And so, I mean, I already have a list of people that I would love to that have already expressed interest. And so that's the first step, is getting those people ready. And then the big work starts in having enough. Then there's another 2 years before they need to find a market for their babies. And so, yeah, we've got about 3.5, 4 years to really establish this in the mind of the community. I am not worried about being able to find homes for the babies that I produce. That's not going to be a problem. It's the next generation, and that's the success. Is that the F2 generation? That's really what we got to work for.
And tracking. Let's track it well.
Steve Hefner is letting us know that he's getting another female brevicorn.
Yeah, so, excellent.
The brevicorn project is off, and I don't know whether mine is a male or a female, but it keeps growing. I think that my imported one that was a mouthy or a brevicorn, or we kept identifying something, is actually a brevicorn based on the way it looks.
Okay.
So maybe I'll and it looks like a female. So maybe we'll have to talk as well, Steve, what have you. But all right, so someone's just trying to talk about you joining the.
In that case, we need to do a check. Doom-pa-boo. All right.
I see eggs.
Yeah, these are brevicorn.
Oh, excellent.
So we'll see. We'll check on them each time.
Yes, we'll have to do some small batch brevicorn. Although I guess there was only 20 brevicorn eggs, 20 and 21 for my two females that I imported that immediately dropped eggs, or the one dropped eggs on the way here, and that's the one that I have now. So anyways, all right, let's see. I got to get rid of this here. So
Turtle Tom says, I know I can sell my family on taking in animals if they are part of a collaborative effort. We got that, no problem.
Yes, we could get them all kinds of animals, but all right.
Nice.
It sounds good, Steve, there. Okay. All right. So breeding projects. What else do we have to know? Number one, do not plan to make $1 billion because they're all a bunch of chickens that haven't hatched yet, and you keep counting them, and you need to not think of it that way. You need to think about enjoying it and having fun and taking good care of the animals and learning what we need to do. What else?
Well, I mean, I would say watching how Jonathan did his breeding project, that is the gold standard of somebody who started off small and said, I am only going to expand once the infrastructure is in to support that expansion. Let me tell you, as someone who sells cages, I know the times that I've gotten people saying, okay, I'm putting in my order for nursery cages. I need them in a month because my baby's just hatched and they can only be in the bin for a month before they start having problems. So when are you going to get me those cages? And it's like, how long is incubation? So, and so this is the way to do it is lead with infrastructure.
All right. So Turtle Tom is saying that Tamarack Millions are a next multi-level marketing opportunity. Don't be on the bottom of supporting the rest of us, huh? I guess, Bill, are you going to make that so that everybody in the F1 breeders gives a little kickback to you and be a true multi-level, or what are we talking about?
You know what? That is an awesome idea.
That's the way to give credit to lines.
Okay, that's good.
I like that.
Oh,
Let's
yeah.
see.
We should implement that in the Panther Chameleon breeding community too.
Yeah, that would be. You could have some fun with that one.
I think one of us will get run out of town on the rails, but okay. All right. What else should we know about? You have to be ready for the babies when they hatch so that you can individually raise them. You have to have enough cages. They have to be big enough size. They have to have enough quality to them. What else?
Well, we could start coming up with, what species do you work with? How do you choose what species to work with, whether it's chameleon, turtles, tortoises, any sort of reptile? Do you what mindset do you have to go in? Obviously, you have to like it, but liking something doesn't mean there's a market for it, or that you won't be left with a whole lot of them. And I mean, we can think about, okay, we've got a chameleon species that I'm working with that I have to establish a market for. Although I'm in a unique position that I can conceivably establish a market for something within 12 months. If someone's just starting off, that may be difficult. But say somebody decides, and sorry, everybody, we're talking chameleons because that's what
we all know and love. I mean, there's other things, frilled dragons. I have
no idea what to talk about, but
chameleons are, exactly it. So
let's take an example of somebody thinking, okay, panther chameleons are hot. I'm going to do nosimitzios. I'm going to do something unique. Nosimitzios. Jonathan, what kind of challenges might that person run into? I mean, obviously the allure is being the only one with Nosimitsio. Okay, you have a unique offering.
Exactly. There's a perception and reality on the market size on those, and so like people perceive them as rare, right? And they think
Colonel Thomas here. I'm going to let him in, but you keep going, John.
Hey, how you doing? So people perceive them as rare and therefore of greater value, but what they don't realize is that the market size for a Nosimitsuo is really small. And so when you breed Nosimitsuo and you breed like 2 pair, you could saturate the market immediately. It's almost like trying to establish a new species. And so when you get into some of those rare locales, even though the species as a whole is very popular, panther chameleons are bred in those kind of like niche markets. And that it's really easy because the main problem is the same thing when you're establishing a new species. They're all related. And so a lot of the buyers of chameleons are breeders of chameleons, and they're thinking about market size, and they're thinking like, hey, could I make a project with this? And if they can't because there's not enough unrelated lines in the United States, then your market size shrinks significantly. And so that's, I think, the big challenge for rare species, rare locales, and like figuring out how to grow the market, both with marketing, like how do you explain to somebody like, why do you want to get into Mitsio? Like, what's the coolest thing about them? Obviously, they fire up bright neon yellow. That's amazing. They think that's the main thing for them.
Yeah.
But the challenge that you're going to run into really quickly, and Bill, we talked about this, is they color up slower than a yellow ambilobe. So when you're going head to head with an ambilobe breeder who specializes in yellow, my babies are going to look amazing at 3 months old, and you're going to have to hold yours to 5 or 6 to get that same kind of yellow. And even though you're in the yellow locale, you're in the best locale, right, for yellow. And so from a business standpoint, often the Mitsio get crowded out by the near neighbor over in Ambilobe because there's a larger market, tons more lines out there for people to build projects. The availability is there. Like, run down the list, they color up sooner, they all have yellow, and so then the Mitsio people get crowded out pretty fast. And like the same is true of Tamatav. Like Tamatav, bright red, beautiful once they're 2 years old. but like the red body blue bar ambilobe is going to be gorgeous at 5 months, right? And so and it's like people who like red are going to go get that one, and then you're left holding all your Tomatop till like a year or more. And so there's all these types of things across locales within Panther Chameleons where people, the perceived market, the perceived um, advantage of trying to go and do something rare and fun is cool to the people who know the species. It's cool to people who really value the locale diversity of the species and trying to preserve those in captivity, all that. But for the general customer and for also breeders who are just trying to build a project of their favorite color, there's these other things that come into play and just make it hard to project and hard to. Um, I've seen a lot of people try to do this stuff and they fail because they forget about the market size. They forget about the competing kind of like substitutes for what they're doing, and that's the big challenge in Pardalis, at least.
Okay.
I just
All
had to
right.
jump on to balance out all of these chameleon people.
Yeah, now we can talk about rare tortoises, right? Like,
Heck yeah.
how do you-
Yeah, let me answer Chris's question. Am I going to be at the Taylor, Michigan show this weekend? That is the plan. And I might go somewhere Sunday as well because I've got Monday off to rest. But I've got Northeast Ohio show or the Cincinnati show. So if you guys want to vote for me and tell me which one I should go to on Sunday, let me know. I'm going to be at the Michigan one. I hopefully Taylor, but I'll be there in the late afternoon because I'm just going to drive up there and drive back, not stay at a hotel. So it's about 3 hours away, 2.5 hours. So nonetheless,
and
Tom, go ahead.
Bill, John, or Tom, or Tom, do you have something to say about rare tortoises? Is it, or he's getting set up? So Bill, and Sean, have you seen a similar type of thing occur with substitutes within chameleon species? For example, like, why is it so hard to gain other species to gain popularity in general? Part of it, I think, is the dominance of panther chameleons.
Yeah, panthers are the perfect chameleon. So there's got to be a reason. Every other chameleon is like a novelty.
Yeah.
And I also think that there's a problem that there are so many other chameleons that it's hard to put your attention towards one.
Yeah.
I mean, when people get started in chameleons, they get a panther chameleon or a veiled chameleon or Jackson's. And once they're ready for a second chameleon, it's like the candy store is open.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
That was something I was going to say too, is that with your breeding project, the temptation is to go and get a lot of different species or like to expand way too fast into different things because there's from a business standpoint, people think it's better to have more options for customers, like to be able to satisfy somebody looking for a veiled, somebody looking for a Jackson's, somebody looking for every locale of panther chameleons, and to be like a one-stop shop for every type of chameleon as a sales, like as a strategy. And I see that like in it's, you get overloaded and your quality in each one of them decreases, and so then you actually don't have a competitive advantage anywhere. And the big thing that you need to do as a breeder is gain a competitive advantage so that you can sell what you're doing. And I feel like the way you gain that competitive advantage is really by investing in the thing you're doing, really, and getting deep in it, trying to figure out how can you do it slightly different and be something that is, it helps you find places for them, because at the end of the day, that's the goal. It's like you've got to find a place for the animals to go, unless you want to go into the commodity market, which you don't.
yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
Commodity market is where you're essentially just wholesale price, like whatever it is, like that is not where you want to be. And so the only way you can not be there is if you can find a way to differentiate yourself from the pack, I guess, is, and so like small batch breeding is a pretty cool way to do it, I think, because it's a new idea. It's a new approach, and I think that a lot of people will be excited about it. So.
All right, so Turtle Tom is bowed out because it's his headphones. He can't hear and he can't speak. So
no.
he doesn't know we actually just shut off his sound and his volume, so he couldn't speak. He
no,
could
that's
just be there
horrible.
looking at. But no, I think he had something very good to say. But anyways,
Yeah.
so Chris said we're gonna get a picture at the Taylor show. We'll see if he's there at the same time I am. But I also think that the idea that you like, I did go and see. I started with Jackson's. I moved on to Quadricornis. That would have been a great species if I could have got enough diversity, but there wasn't. I mean, there was a begging for my babies, but I couldn't make them fast enough. Or I could not produce them fast enough, and there weren't enough bloodlines. I only had 2 bloodlines, so it wasn't like I was just breeding people's pets, but I went into Honelli and I went into Eliade, and I mean Michael Nash, he's a genius. I don't know how he keeps all these the list of different species that he has. I know they're tiny little species; they take tiny cages, but still they're all kind of from the same general. Well, he's got ones from Madagascar and he's got ones from Kenya, so it's still the still one of those 2 different areas. But I don't know how he does them all. But and then I just.
Yeah.
I picked a few, but I'm not a serious breeder. I'm a hobbyist. I like to do different things and get neat things and just have them. And I don't even want to sell them ever. I mean, that's why I had so few Quadricornis go out, because I decided not to sell them ever. But that's why I have several of them. But it's still, it's one of those things where if you want to pick something out to breed and to be able to sell, you do have to think about it. You do have to know, this is a Kenyan chameleon. Are you going to use Hanelli? Are you going to use Eliade? What are you going to do? And they're not that they look different. The jewel chameleons look different, but they're tiny little chameleon that's of the same kind of stuff. And you can mix and match if you're going to have pets, but if you're going to be a next level breeder, you can't do too much of that. So there's not that much diversity in it at all. But his goal is to take these rare chameleons that you have and let them, show how to breed them, learn about them, learn more, not to really ever become a big zoo or anything like that. But it's more about the conservation not in the true sense of the everyone else uses conservation, but just how do you help them? How do you do, like he mentioned one of the chameleons that dies off like the Veils do in their native country. And if you went in the wrong time of year to Madagascar, you wouldn't find any of them. You'd think they were extinct. Yep. But then, 3 months later, boom, they're all running all over the place. And so, it's just, it's just, I guess it depends on what you want to do. I mean, small batch breeding sounds really good, but I started off with all these, not egg layers, these ones that live birth. And so it's kind of like, what do you do when your Jackson lays 30 babies? They just start dropping from the sky. And, that's a lot more challenging, I think, when you have a Jackson baby to do something negative to that than an egg. I don't know. There's something about an egg and, to take the chicken and kill it. Of course we eat chicken, but without the egg. So it's a challenge. But I think the other thing is the amount of food you give it. Like if you're feeding, a veiled chameleon, every day, a female veiled every day, lots as much food as it can eat, you're going to have a huge clutch as opposed to one that you're just limiting to the necessary amount. And Bill's talked about that before. And I'm not sure if that works well for the Jacksons, but it seemed to me that when I stopped feeding the females every day and I just let them go with the clutches got smaller. Now, the natural thing is, even if you are feeding them, the clutches do get smaller. So I don't know if that was, a good example, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, if you don't remate them, and then you force them to use stored sperm, then you can get the clutches down in size. Yeah. When I had a female that gave me 50 babies, that was just overwhelming.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
I guess.
And that was a recent wild caught. It wasn't an obese, captive obese one. That was from the wild.
She came in with.
I'm sure she looked obese with 50 babies.
And she didn't look obese. She looked big. I assumed, okay, I'm going to get a bunch of big babies out of this one. Oh no, you're going to get 50 big babies. Whew. How do they all fit? I don't know. But,
Yeah. I guess like the way to keep enjoyment as well is not just to limit in the quantity, but limit in the diversity of what you're doing.
mm-hmm.
Because it's really difficult to keep track of everything and enjoy, like, really maintain that high level of enjoyment when it becomes overwhelming, right? Like and there's different ways for it to become overwhelming. One is scale, the other is complexity. And I know, like, I definitely have limited myself. It's like if something requires a super cold night, like I don't even look at it. Like I'm currently trying to just be like, yeah, I can't deal with that right now, because that is going to be a fundamental change to what I'm doing right now. So it's like looking for ways to essentially just get really good at the thing you do, rather than like ending up with a more complex management type situation.
Well, that is a challenge.
Did we just lose Bill?
I think we did. All right. So
But
you think he had all this new internet and site, and he had trouble getting on? I think he burned himself out on. Maybe he's just frozen personally. I don't know if it's his internet or what. But
yeah,
yeah. But
but
like I told you, I have 4 pairs of, or at least 4 pairs of panther chameleons that I've never bred, and
yeah,
the males are all wild caught. So I got to get to breeding them at some point, because it's a new bloodline. It would be a different bloodline, at least a half new bloodline. So, but you know what? I'm not going to do it until I have the time and the energy to do it. And I've got a couple other projects ongoing. So, I've got myself a little deep into it, but I'm still loving the chameleons and looking at them and checking out the females and what have you. But no, sometime soon I'm going to be breeding at least one of them. And I may be diaposing a bunch of stuff to just kind of get it through, because I did lose one of my males. It was actually one that I got that was I think it was given to me free from the breeder, because not the breeder, the importer, because it had a damaged limb. It was beautiful, had a damaged limb, wasn't quite right. It was, but it would have been able to breed. But he ended up passing away. But and I don't know how old he was. I had him for a couple years. So anyways, there goes Bill. But but no, it's one of those things. I just gotta figure out how to do it in time that I could do it before they leave. But anyways.
Yeah, timing is a huge thing. Like I when I have received my wild caught, I've always been very lucky to have females that are receptive and ready to and choices for that pairing, because especially with wild caught, the time, it's like you don't know how old they are, you don't know if, like, for example, that one that came in injured, like he might have internal injuries that he's not gonna last very long. And but I don't know, I guess the thing for me about a breeding project, it should be centered on your passion, and you should protect it from other priorities, because it's very easy for you to kind of get distracted and pull a bunch of things in there. And so, like, when you get started, if you say to yourself what your goal is right at the beginning, it's easier to prevent that drift into larger scale, into other species, into other locales, like whatever it is. You essentially make that decision up front, so that when the opportunity arises, you can resist the temptation to get distracted, the temptation to get into all sorts of different things, because it's kind of similar to with when I got started saying, hey, I want to raise the babies individually. If I fail to achieve that goal, I feel terrible. I beat myself up, and it's self-fixing, right? It's like you declared your goal up front. If you don't achieve that, then you can hold yourself accountable, right?
Mhm.
The same goes for certain scale or species or other things. It's like if you kind of come at it with that mindset, then it's easier to hold yourself accountable when the moment is when it's most important. And I think that's that's um that's important for the to have, because we all love animals, we all love different species and are super passionate about different things. And so it that's the tendency, is to like, especially once you've sold the clutch and maybe you have money to spend and you're like, ooh, I could, go get these other things, instead of um, investing in infrastructure, saying like, no, this is what I wanted to do with this. Like, go get that amazing enclosure, and like that's giant one, and upgrade. Like, don't scale up, upgrade the quality. Like, do something really cool like that. Um, I think that mindset, if you have that from the beginning, it's like, the reason I'm breeding is so that I can is like make my breeders enclosure epic. Right? That would be really cool. Is if what people are doing with that small batch project is they're using whatever small amount of revenue they can make to just improve the lives of the original pair. That'd be to me, would be a pretty cool way to approach it. Is just like, you don't have $3,000 up front, or 4 or 5 or whatever the number is that you're going to spend on the upgrade. Um, and you just have, maybe you have that goal is like, hey, my goal is just to raise the money for an upgrade of X number of dollars. And then you can have a lot of fun with that budget to to just do that, instead of adding like new species or new breeders or anything. Oh, now I can't hear you, Sean. What'd you do?
I put myself on mute because there were dogs were
Ah, there
barking
we
in the
go.
background. So
There we
that's
go.
it. Bill dropped off again. I don't know what's going on. He broke his computer system over the weekend. I don't know what happened, but yes, no, I agree completely. That's a great way to do it, and it's a good way to think about it. And the one issue that I forgot when I was starting to breed the wild caught panthers was I got the wild caughts and then I got the babies, and they're known sources, there's known lineage. I knew what they were, but I matched them up to the breeders, the males, but it was like, then I got them at 4 months. I'm just like, okay, now I got to raise them up, and I don't want to breed them in a year. I want to wait, and they weren't very big, so I can breed them a little bit later. And it got to be 2 years, and the pandemic and all that other nonsense, and I'm like, wow, it's been 3 years since I started this project, and we haven't got anything done. And now I'm down the road on other stuff. So no, but
Yeah.
all right. So
Well, I mean,
we're at about
pretty neat.
58 minutes now. So normally we only go 50 or so. So I thank you very much for being here, John. I thank Bill and Two Turtle Tom for being here. Well, at least it was visibly here. But I really appreciate it, and I thank you for your knowledge and information. And we'll see everybody next week. Have a good night.